A massive Chinese fishing fleet has descended on the edge of the Galapagos protection zone. It's threatening to decimate the archipelago's biodiversity. The Galapagos Islands, as you will probably well know, are a UNESCO World Heritage Site in the Pacific Ocean off the mainland of Ecuador. You'll be familiar with some of their endemic species: giant tortoises, iguanas, blue-footed boobies. And the Galapagos protection zone surrounding the islands is also home to the largest shark biomass in the world, as well as sea turtles, manta ray, whales, dolphins, and many, many more. Now take a look at this image. You can see the islands there. The mass of white dots that you see on the edge of the Galapagos protection zone, that is the Chinese fleet. 265 fishing, cargo, refrigeration and processing vessels squeezed between that narrow band of international waters between Ecuador and the Galapagos, a major migration route for those endangered species that travel through that area for breeding, feeding and to seek refuge. And there is also this: waves of plastic waste of Chinese origin washing up on the shores of the precious Galapagos National Park. This isn't a new phenomenon, I should point out. Last year, 245 Chinese vessels were detected in that same area, and you may have seen this from 2017, when the Galapagos National Park intercepted a Chinese vessel carrying 6,000 tonnes of dead sharks, some of them endangered, hammerheads, in the biggest illegal fishing haul in Galapagos history. It's a very serious situation. Let's go live to Quito on mainland Ecuador and speak to Norman Ray. He is president of the Galapagos Governing Council, and Dr. Alex Hearn is also with us. He's a specialist in marine protected areas and fish movements. Norman, if I can start with you, you're looking at the satellite. Just explain to us what these ships are and how they work.
Well, right now, the reports that we have from our national Navy, as these ships are in the limits of the economic exclusive zone. This is like close to 200 miles from the limit of our protected marine reserve of Galapagos. They are operated in the southwest part of the marine reserve at this moment, and the consequences of their presence in that limits is a huge impact, not only in the way they recover all these fishery stocks that are protected in islands in the marine reserve of Galapagos. Also, as you show in the last image, the impact of the bad management of their waste, because we are recovering all the days a huge amount of bottles, plastic bottles and other rubbish that came from this of what they throw. These 260 ships that are around the economic exclusive zone of Ecuador.
Dr. Hearn, it sounds like they are legally there because they're right on the edge of this protected corridor. But of course, fish, sharks, whales, they don't observe our artificial borders. And presumably they're swimming through this area into a wall of lines and nets.
Absolutely. That's exactly what's happening. When the Galapagos Marine Reserve was created back in 1998, it was the second largest marine reserve in the world. But when it was created, we didn't really understand the extent of the movements of the animals that we're trying to protect. And over the last 10, 15 years, we've been tracking whale sharks, critically endangered hammerheads. And you're right, they don't understand where the boundaries are. And so we're finding that they're moving offshore out into the EEZ and out into international waters too. So, yeah, this is a big concern for us.
And presumably, Dr. Hearn, the sort of netting that they're putting down, it doesn't differentiate between different species. They're just sucking up everything.
Well, I think these are mostly longliners, and yeah, I mean, if you're setting out, 1,000 hooks on a line, any large-sized fish, the size of a large tuna or a blue shark or a hammerhead, is going to want to grab a piece of that bait. So they're not very selective.
Norman, has there been any representation to the Chinese government? Because, as I say, this is not the first time this has happened.
Well, in the 2017. When we have this incident with this the Fujian Li ship that get into the marine reserve, the government of Ecuador put all the letters and all the claims in the international arena to tell to the Chinese fleet and to the Chinese government that is forbidding the activity of industrial fishery fleets inside the marine reserve of Galapagos. But I think so that the moment right now is a discussion about how we're going to go forward to fulfill this global agreement that we are trying to push around the better protection of the marine reserves around the world. This objective of the 30 by 30 that is going to give us the opportunity to protect our biodiversity. This Galapagos is strategic for that. Our biodiversity around the world, not only in Galapagos, against the pressure of these fleets and also against the pressure of climate change over the oceans. So right now, what we are facing is an incredible example of how the pressure of all these big fleets, fishery fleets, are generated around all the stocks of protein around the world in the sea. So if we want to protect, we protect the biodiversity for the life of the planet, but also for the future of the food security around the world.
Dr. Hearn, from your research, do you know what sort of impact this fishing in recent years has had on the biodiversity in this area?
Well, yes, unfortunately. So we share populations, not just with Galapagos, but with Cocos Island to the north that belongs to Costa Rica. And we know that our animals are moving back and forth between different marine reserves. And there's been a monitoring program over at Cocos Island that's shown that hammerhead sharks, for example, their numbers have declined by almost 50%. In the last 20 years. That's despite the fact that they're moving between marine reserves. But yet again, the problem once you leave the marine reserve is that you're vulnerable to the hooks and the nets that are out there.
And it's such a magical place. It belongs to all of us. Remind us just how old the oldest tortoise is there, the oldest turtle.
The oldest land turtle, I mean, I think they live just about 130 years, something like that. I mean, these can reach a significant age. And so incidentally can the whale sharks. We think whale sharks can reach up to 100 years old. And the largest whale sharks that we're finding in the world are actually up in the northern isles of Galapagos at the moment, up at Darwin. So these are long-lived species, and it's just incredibly upsetting to see them being pulled out of the ocean in such a way.
Indeed so. Dr. Alex Hearn and Norman Ray, thank you very much both for your thoughts and best of luck with the work that you're doing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.